AI is going to change everything in the world that we didn't even think of, starting from the device that you use in your hand on a daily basis to the big companies that you see around the world. All the organizations are moving towards AI implementation, and people are kind of worried about losing job, all of that, right? So there is a lot of resistance that also sometimes come in, right? Now, how do organizations navigate this resistance and implement AI in their organizations?
I think it is too premature to make a decision that AI will take away jobs. What AI will definitely take away is you can augment AI from creativity perspective, but you cannot have completely depend on AI for creativity.
Where is India right now, and how is it in comparison to the West, be it US, Europe, Australia? AI is going to change everything in the world that we didn't even think of, starting from the device that you use in your hand on a daily basis to the big companies that you see around the world. On the show, we have Mr. Krishna Tammireddy, who comes with about 2 decades of experience across organizations like Blackberry, UAE Exchange, Telstra. Telstra is one of the biggest telecom company in Australia. He mentored a lot of startups on product strategy and scaling the business. He has scaled the business to the tune of $25 million, which is roughly about 200 crores in Indian rupees, if I have to say. Let's deep dive into how AI is going to transform and change human race and its impact on the human race. Welcome to the show. Hi Krishna, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for giving us time on your short break to India. We basically wanted to explore and understand on your career trajectory. You had a really dynamic career working with Blackberry, and then you had a stint at venture capital firm 50K Ventures, and now in AI. Can you give us a quick walkthrough of your journey on your complete career trajectory?
Sure, Pradeep. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to the show. Honestly speaking, the career evolution has been pretty natural. While I'll step back and see where we started.
Sure.
So with Telstra in Australia, I was leading gaming, mobile gaming. I set up the mobile gaming business there. And from there to Electronic Arts, the world's largest gaming company, being as a country head for Electronic Arts, and then to Blackberry via a acquisition.
Okay.
And then 50K Ventures. All of the thing that's common across all of this is unlearning and learning. Solving real world problems that consumers need and want,
right.
And touching customer experiences on a daily basis. And to me, AI seemed to be very natural because again, the impact is humongous, and you can touch and deliver experiences not just via text but voice as well.
Right.
And humans are social animals by nature, so we connect to voice more than text.
Yeah.
And if you look back earlier, they used to say if you're using finger to do something, hey, you're illiterate. We've gone from there to coming back to fingerprint for biometrics.
Yeah.
So
all the mobiles
the world
today
has converged, right? So
yeah.
we moved 360 degrees. So, and AI is all about data,
right?
Right. So, since being in this space for over 2 decades,
right,
seemed pretty natural.
Right. So, what was that pivotal moment in your career across this 2 decades? Probably you spent time in SaaS, AI, and tech, a lot of it. So, what was the pivotal moment in your career?
So, first pivot happened with app stores.
Okay.
So let me start with that. So when I started mobile gaming in Australia, Telstra is the largest carrier in Australia,
right?
And it was making about $1,000 in revenue per day.
Can I compare that with Airtel in India? Yeah.
Airtel in India.
Okay.
So sorry, I would rephrase $1,000 a month in revenue.
Wow.
Vis-a-vis a young operator in Australia at that time called 3 Mobile from UK, which was making $1 million in revenue per month with million subscribers. So for me, the first and honest pivotal, why I call it a pivotal moment is if I have to correlate, what Telstra was offering was everything to everyone. It was a buffet. The screens were small, and we were saying, you come and this is a classified, you can browse and select what you want.
Okay.
But what customers demanded at the time was personalization, tailored experiences.
Back then.
Back then, the reason
Interesting.
being the screens are very small.
Right.
We didn't have big screens as we have today.
Yeah.
And the phones had limited memory.
Okay.
They didn't know what type of games worked, what didn't work. So why I call this is because I was able to scale that business from $1,000 a month business to $3 million a month business in
Wow.
about 18 months' time. So it's all about understanding customer preferences, understanding what we have as inputs, understanding the limitations of the devices which are delivering these experiences, and also understanding what type of games. So if you have a very small screen, you can't use both the hands. You can't
Absolutely.
use two thumbs.
Correct.
So it should be single hand, single thumb playing games. So that pivot, that was the first pivot in my experience. The second one was with Blackberry, if I have to say, because this is about consolidating these experiences
Okay.
into a proper app store
Nice.
with compliance,
Okay.
with governance, with transparency,
Okay.
working ability to work with developers to deliver these experiences.
Right. Right.
Right, and communicating to the world who these developers are,
Right.
and why should you download and experience a particular app.
Got it. Yeah.
So these are the two ones, and if I have to say AI to me is like what electricity to refrigerator is.
Wow.
So you had electricity, but if you have invented refrigerator without electricity, there's no meaning for refrigerator.
Get that. Yeah.
And by that means, nobody would have drunk Coke if there was no electricity.
Wow. Coke, electricity. Great
Right?
connection. Yeah.
So if you had Coke, you would drink Coke only if it's refrigerated.
Right. Right.
And you will only drink a refrigerator, you can only refrigerate if you have electricity.
Absolutely. Correct.
Similarly, AI is electricity. What you build on top of it, what is the equivalent of a refrigerator? What is the equivalent of Coke? Is the next pivotal moment, and that's why I'm excited. That's the reason
Awesome.
when I decided to take up into AI, plunge myself into AI, I said, can I have this impact? Can I make this impact
Right.
as to what Coke did
Yeah.
for FMCG? Right, so if I have to
Fascinating.
summarize, this is how I would put it.
Fascinating. So you really have this diverse industry exposure. Telecom, fintech, insurance. How do you see that AI is going to influence these industries and implementation of it? Maybe if you can throw some light there.
So the way I looked at it is as follows, right? We all have mobile phones.
Right.
So mobile phone, some people use Apple, some people use Samsung. They're about a screen is delivering an experience.
Right.
And then within the same phone, we use apps. So for banking, we use a banking app.
Correct.
For insurance, we use an insurance app.
Yeah.
For payments, we use a payments app.
Yeah.
And for gaming, we use games.
Correct.
Ultimately, all of these, underlying this is data. So when you're playing with data, and what type of data do we want to use for what type of experiences?
Right.
What I see is that how AI connects all of these pieces is with, hey, I need to deliver a trustful, compliant experiences. These are the ones that will go with fintech, banking, because fintech and banking is all about trust, compliance, regulatory environment.
Yeah.
If you look at gaming, how can I nudge the user
Right.
to play that extra minute?
Right. Right.
Or how can I give that aha moment
Yeah.
to that user
Right.
regularly without a player? Because without other player? How can I give aha moments regularly?
Right. Right.
And then if you look at insurance, insurance has generally been very reactive, boring
Yeah.
type of business. How can it become customer centric?
Right.
How can it become very proactive? So I think the common thread across all of this is that AI delivers that in the moment personalization and customer centric experiences.
Get that.
So rather than seeing from the lens of, hey, what can AI do for retail? What can AI do for fintech? What can AI do for insurance? I think the underlying thing should be, what data can I use underlying to package it nicely to deliver a customer centric experience? All of us crave for customer centric experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
If I'm using a UPI app, hey, how is this communicating to me individually?
Right.
I don't want to have a regular experience.
Right. Get that.
Because if you look at Google Pay, for example, they give me a scratch guard.
Yeah.
That scratch guard is positioned as if that scratch guard is for Krishna.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? And if I haven't found such a kind of experience with other UPI apps.
So if I may relate and probably take one or two other examples so that viewers can relate to this. Are we speaking of how the way Amazon Prime throwing movies that you have watched and similar movies, part of the AI game? That's how it works. Is that?
So that is, in my opinion, oversimplifying.
Okay.
Rather, if you see YouTube, if you're scrolling on YouTube,
correct. Yeah.
It's not going. The algorithm is not just looking at what you watched.
Got it.
The time you spent on it.
Okay.
The area inside it. So have you forwarded that video to a particular point?
Right.
Where the peak was.
Okay.
And watched there. So you spent and you liked that particular aspect. So how can I deliver you similar experiences?
Understood.
So if I just say because I watched Pushpa, that is overgeneralization.
Understood.
Within Pushpa, what did I enjoy? Where did I spend? Where did I go back, forward it, watch the same thing? Is it a particular song? Is it a particular scene? That means that is the one which gave me an aha moment. That is the one which delivered curiosity to me. That is the one which gave me that happiness. How can I give those kind of that content? That is where AI will truly differentiate itself from the traditional recommendation engines.
I think that was more clear, at least to me. Thanks for that. So, from an organization standpoint, right, AI has been a buzzword, and a lot of organizations are trying to implement it and deploy it. From a governance standpoint, right, how, sometimes I feel maybe user privacy and ethical stuff. Maybe you want to throw more light on that piece of it.
Sure. I think first and foremost, AI, the way you should develop AI is similar to who would you allow into your office as a real human being.
Okay.
So if you're interviewing somebody, if you're bringing in some individual into your office, what do? You check their background.
Correct.
You check their experience.
Yeah.
You do background checks.
Yep.
You check their experiences, and then you say that, and most importantly, you'll also see culture fit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You ask behavioral questions.
Correct.
You will see if this individual has biases towards anyone else. Will they fit into the regulatory environment that I'm in?
Right.
That I'm governed by.
Right.
Or the compliances. So when we look at AI, the simplest analogy, the reason being is that we overcomplicate AI, saying that, oh, this is a big one, beast, we don't know how to tame it, how to use it.
Right.
So rather, I'm simplifying saying that, imagine you are hiring a individual.
Got it.
Whatever checks you apply for an individual, employ the same checks for deploying an AI. Okay. And from a governance standpoint, which means that whatever you're developing, does it have bias?
Right.
When will biases form? When you give data.
Got it.
And what type of data are you giving?
Right.
What type of data can it access?
Got it.
For what purpose? Define the purpose, have clarity, and see what are the business outcomes that one should give. It shouldn't be that you just deploy and forget. No. Similar to how you manage an individual, their performance, how you are having a daily, weekly checks and monthly career checks for their promotions, for their career progress. The same thing should apply for AI in the sense what data is getting fed, the monitoring, how is it delivering the results, what should you refine. So all those guardrails have to be set in place upfront.
Understood. So basically we are saying there has to be a human intervention and not just leaving it to automate. Is that what you're saying?
So you automate processes,
yeah,
but there's human in the loop.
Got that.
So you have human in the loop because who's setting these processes, who's setting these guardrails? Humans.
Correct.
Which means there has to be a stakeholder who has to observe, who needs to experience, who needs to touch this on a day-to-day basis.
Understood. So those become guardrails in the process.
Absolutely. And make sure you have your legal, compliance, risk, and CIO, cybersecurity, and infrastructure teams on your side.
Get that.
They should be onboarded first.
Right.
And they should be educated.
Got it.
How you're deploying, on what infrastructure, what clouds.
Got it.
Where how the data is being accessed. How are you training this data? How are you training the AI agents?
Right.
And the purpose. So because they all hear these AI words, and there's some people are anxious, some people see it with disdain. Oh, this is not going to do. Some people are fearful of it. So to address all of these concerns, I would say more than the business stakeholders, we need to take these other supporting stakeholders up front, help them understand the process, why this process is being done, what is the purpose of this process, how is this process being executed, what if we do not do this process, what else will happen if we don't take AI.
Right.
So answer the why, what, how, what if, and what else.
Got that. I think since you spoke about compliance, legal, all of that, and implementation of AI seems slightly expensive or costly affair, if I think. So from an organization standpoint, how should organization look at implementation and profitability and ROI? Because end of the day, whatever we do is technically for profits and ROI, right? So how, and according to your experience, if you can throw some light on how should organizations see this from an ROI standpoint?
So generally the most expensive resource cost, I shouldn't say resource, the most expensive cost to an organization is a human resource.
Right.
And human resource do not work 24/7, 365 days a week.
Right.
So I would always say pick use cases such as customer facing use cases, customer support use cases, where there are low hanging fruits, there are well defined models available in the market, and which are very easy to implement and have matured pretty well.
Right.
And have a very clear goal. For example, let's say a restaurant which is very busy has a very big menu. People want to order. Now there is a single individual or few individuals answering phone calls, taking the order and then giving it to the kitchen. Right. Imagine this, deploying an AI solution, you will be able to answer 200 calls per minute, 10,000 calls, it auto scales.
Right.
Take the order directly, give that order directly to the kitchen. Likewise, somebody who's trying to sell flowers, take the order, give it to a respective person. So this way you have the business ROI is clearly defined in the sense X number of orders are being handled. Before I was able, because there are only 6 people answering the phone call, example, there are only 6 orders that can be taken at any given point of time.
Got it.
Now if there are, because AI agents are auto-scalable, imagine if they can take 100 orders per minute.
Right.
Whether the kitchen can deliver 100 orders or not is a separate issue.
Yeah.
But technically you have the opportunity to take 100 orders.
Got that.
And deliver.
Got that.
Likewise, simple things in organization where for you take hospitals is a very important one. Patients want to book calendar appointments, and there's only very few people who take those orders on phone. So imagine somebody calling up the hospital inquiry system, ability to understand which doctor is available when, book, and then have a system where you send a link for them to have a payment as well. So the hospital completes end-to-end bookings for their for the doctors who are there.
That was quite interesting there. So I want to slightly jump towards experience. You come with 2 decades of experience, and you have played multiple roles across hierarchy, as in you were leader in different roles, product and all that. Can you throw a little light on how was your leadership journey, and how did you drive the culture? As in, if I am an aspiring leader, right? How should I build my team's culture, and probably how did you do that in your experience? If you can throw light there.
So first thing I learned very early was listen more than you say. So first try to listen, only then you'll be able to understand. So the leadership style that worked best for me, each one of us are unique in many ways. That worked for me mostly was being, first and foremost, being a good listener. And then the second aspect is empathy driven. And third is hire individuals who are curious and who are willing to learn. Curiosity, learning, and ability to execute. I generally don't put too much of emphasis on which college, what you graduated on, because that only tests memory skills. That you can memorize things very well, and you can write an exam pretty well. I have met many people in my career who may not be great during those 2 hours or 3 hours of exam, because they're just not that kind of people. But they're amazing executioners. They're very curious individuals. So you're leaving so many people off the table if you just focus that I would only want to hire, say, folks from Ivy League institutions. So I would rather focus on, because if I look at my career back, if I'm successful, I'm only successful because I had the team below me who supported in my journey. And when I was learning in my early journey was listen more, build systems-based frameworks so that you have a system to organize. So don't try to be just execute, have a strategy behind it. So what do you do first? What do you do second? So spend a lot of time on strategy. So also have people who can think a bit, step back, listen, and see, have a strategy, plan first. You can only do these things if you're curious. You can only do these things if you're learners. So if you're learning. So I try to break it down to first principle thinking. So first order thinking, go as bare bones as possible. And I would say that you can't go wrong. And I mean, believe it or not, and the results are generally exponential if you keep it very, very simple, because there's less things to worry about. There's no distraction in our mind, as well as in your execution plan. The most simple, it's the easiest ways is that if you have a combustion vehicle that most of us are driving, there are close to 40,000 parts when I include nuts and bolts. Compared to an electric vehicle, there are only 400 things. So there are only 400 things that can go wrong in an EV vehicle. There are 40 things that can go wrong in a combustion vehicle. So what is easier to fix? So the thinking should be on the systems-driven thinking, and then expand on that. Then the leadership style, all of us should pivot. First and foremost is, can you listen? Focus, and be curious. And be a continuous learner. The only constant I can say is that how can I unlearn and learn every day? And what can I learn? And most of my learning has come actually spending with children. Because they don't care what you do, they
Right.
don't care about your title or anything, and they're doing certain things in a certain way and they question.
Right. Right.
So you learn those experiences. Okay, this is a nice question. How can I implement? Why
Right.
are they thinking? So these are consumers.
Fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic. So, we spoke on the leadership, and one question that's striking my head, and these days this has been a sort of trend across, right? All the organizations are moving towards AI implementation, and people are kind of worried about losing job, all of that, right? So there is a lot of resistance that also sometimes come in, right? Now, how do organizations navigate this resistance and implement AI in their organizations?
Absolutely. So, great question. I just want to say, I hope our viewers can relate to when internet first came, and a lot of people said, "Hey, if we migrate to internet, a lot of jobs will be at stake. We should not embrace internet. We should not go computers. When computers first came, a lot of jobs will be at risk." So, if you see the GDP of many nations grew exponentially because of technology, which means internet added more to the world economy than it took away. Mobile added more to the world economy than it took away. All of us
Right.
are consumers of mobile phone. Nobody, even a child has a mobile phone.
Right.
So did it add to the economy or did it take it away? I think it is too premature to make a decision that AI will take away jobs. What AI will definitely take away is it will take away people, it will shift people from doing mundane tasks to highly complex jobs. So in the sense, hey, you don't have to be a contact center operator to answer changing my address, changing my phone number, or telling you where the courier is.
Right.
Rather, that same individual will metamorphose themselves or change themselves into leveraging AI to doing a more complex job.
Right.
Today, where organizations have to spend time is reskilling and upskilling their employees and giving confidence to them that we will give AI to each one of you to
Right.
make sure that you become superhumans.
Right.
Rather than saying that AI is going to take away your jobs. No, I don't think AI can take away jobs. I think like how mobile, internet and computers have added value in terms of increasing economies of the countries that have embraced technology.
Right.
I think likewise AI is going to add huge value in terms of GDPs to
Got
the
that.
countries and organizations that embrace. I think there's a famous saying, I don't know who coined it, but we should be fearful not of AI, but the people who use AI. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a nice way of saying all of us, whether we like it or not, the moment anybody who's purchasing a phone in 2025 will be experiencing and touching AI in
Yeah,
one shape,
yeah.
one way or the other.
I see that. The Samsung mobile that I recently purchased, it comes in with AI inbuilt.
So I think absolutely. I think we will be in a AI first generation.
Yeah.
I think there's no alarm bells that hey, you're going to be disrupted, you're going to lose jobs. I think what should be the focus is how can in my own way
Right.
use AI to get ahead of myself.
So, Krishna, how will AI redefine retail, banking, insurance, real estate sectors at a whole?
Oh, that's a good question. If I have to think, like I said before, I think in any shape or form where AI will make a massive impact across all of this, if I have to generalize, is personalization, proactiveness, driving efficiencies, and cost optimizations.
Okay.
So now if we look each one of them, let's take banking. Today, whether you open a banking app or I open a banking app, the experience is the same.
Correct.
So, but bank has lots of data. Where you're transacting, how often are you transacting, at what time of the day are you transacting, at which merchant are you transacting. They have all of this data.
Right.
And they also know whom you transact with, businesses, personally, and everything. So how can they personalize this? Is the first thing.
Got that.
Some banks are already doing it. For example, in Australia, Commonwealth Bank is amazing. I open the app and you open Commonwealth Bank, the experiences are different.
Okay.
Secondly, proactive. So how can they proactively say, hey, your funds are running low, but these are some of the expenses that are coming up. Proactively, they can say, hey, you have a subscription that is ending, and do you want it? Or there's an alternative in the market for the same piece. How do they know this information? Because other customers are paying for it.
Right. Yeah.
They have that information. And the third thing is efficiency. How can they drive efficiencies? The customer support. I'm calling a bank for a particular purpose. Let's say that, hey, my card has expired, or I lost my card, I want this. So can they drive those experiences from within the app where I can call, AI answers that particular call and resolves the query.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, cost optimization. By just enabling a customer to engage with an AI agent to resolve a query,
Right.
or leveraging AI to make the next best purchase or take the next best action from a customer standpoint, or to help prevent a fraudulent transaction, is where the optimization comes. If I take the lens of a bank, if I take the lens of an insurer, how can I personalize a service? So for example, if a customer contacts the insurer, and if AI is available, then they can say what are the exclusions and inclusions of their policy.
Right.
Or some of the health insurers in Australia, they reward their users if they have healthy habits, such as you have a smartwatch, tag it or with the app of the insurer,
Right.
such as if you take every day 10,000 steps, next year there is a discount on your premium.
Got it. Yeah.
And if you have healthy habits, there are discounts at certain restaurants. So they're driving healthy behavior. They don't want to get you sick.
Right.
And nor does a user want. The user also doesn't want to get sick. They want to be happy. And so this is driving both efficiency, cost optimization, and personalization at one go.
Right.
And number 2 is answering queries, customer queries,
Right.
which is again cost optimization, being proactive, being efficient.
So by being proactive, you mean engaging the customers?
Correct. So how often do we wake up and think of an insurance? No, right?
Yeah.
We don't think of an insurance when we wake up.
Right. Yeah.
But if I nudge you in the morning, hey, you have to do 10,000 steps, and who's nudging you? The insurer.
Right.
So if that insurer is nudging you to take the 10,000 steps, and they reward you for taking those 10,000 steps via points which can be redeemed at a gym, via points for reducing your premium next year at the time of renewal. So there is short-term gratification, short-term rewards, and a long-term gratification, long-term rewards as well.
Right.
Me being healthy and conveying back to the customer, you had 300 sick-free days.
I think that would be a great business strategy for companies who are planning to implement, where they engage customers and get the upselling or.
And how do you differentiate from other insurers?
Correct.
This is a strategy some insurers could take. This is my differentiating proposition, value proposition, when all things are equal.
Fair point.
That my engagement, I am for you. This is basically saying a customer-centric business strategy. Leverage, not deploying AI for the sake of AI, but leveraging AI to redefine your experiences with customer in the middle.
Get that.
Rather than being customer on the fence, you're putting the customer in the middle and then defining the experience, define the policy,
right,
and rewarding that customer.
Yeah.
So those are, and if you look from a travel perspective, and again, ticketing, rescheduling, bookings, all of this. If you take travel and hospitality, all of us have experienced some amazing experiences, and also we would have experienced not so amazing experiences.
Oh yeah, I can relate to
And
it.
when we think of not so amazing experiences, we would have asked ourselves, only if this hotel or an airline, if they have done this 1, 2, 3, it would have been amazing. That's the difference, delta between an amazing experience and not so amazing experience.
Right.
Which means, again, it comes down to personalization, being proactive, and how can I be efficient.
Get
If
that.
they did all of these 3 things, costs are automatically optimized.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Right? And then you can apply this lens to everything. I mean, if you look at real estate, today saying people say location, 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 where should I buy the next best property? But a lot of people ignore Google Maps. Google Maps is continuously being updated. Google Maps people are pinning every day. So how can you leverage data points of Google and see which areas are actually getting developed? What is getting done there? If you have interest in a particular area, how can you harness that data and say that, okay, if this is what's going on, and overlay with government data, understanding what's the roadmap for this region from the government perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, and seeing that if anybody has announced any industries, what type of space is getting built in that area. So leverage public data from government, leverage data from Google, overlay with each other, and then helping customers making informed decisions.
I think that's a fantastic point, because I have this conversation with my friends on which area should we next invest in, right? And we never thought of this Google, and you leverage that data.
And people are pinning, people are going. So when you have that data available, why not leverage it?
Absolutely.
Right?
True,
And
true.
Google allows, I think, 1 million API calls for free. So leverage that every month, and you
Awesome.
have your own real estate startup.
So that's a business idea, guys. We should look at leveraging this idea to start a real estate tech platform which gives suggestion on where to invest, how to invest. Thanks for that, Krishna. So one other question from the organization standpoint. Again, I think today a lot of companies have already implemented, and some are yet to implement. So from a yet to implement company standpoint, right? If they were to leverage on AI, what advice would you have? So from a way to start and how to measure the success after implementation, if you can throw some light on that.
Sure. So companies that are implementing, what I would suggest is start with something that doesn't impact your core systems.
Okay.
So which could be as simple as customer inquiries system, or customer facing after hours. Anyway, business is not available, but you are available. Why? You get a lot of interesting data points. What are customer inquiring about? And how frequent are those inquiries about? The reason I say these things is, these are, again, if you harness that data, it could relate to your product.
Okay.
If you look at the data, you can build amazing blogs, because now you're not making content out of your gut feel, but this is content developed out of real inquiries by real customers or potential customers who are interacting with your organization. So I would always say that start small, look at one business problem, and see in that business problem what is the repetitive task.
Okay.
If a task is repetitive, continuously is the same thing, that's a prime candidate for AI.
Okay.
Because then you're bringing efficiency out of it, and then you can quantify it.
Right.
And the metric is simple here: sentiment analysis. What was the sentiment of the customer? Because you can understand the inquiry, the length of the time the customer spent, using the tone and the inquiry, you can calculate the sentiment. AI is amazing at calculating the sentiment. You can look at NPS scores. You can look at CSAT scores.
Got it.
And you can also see if there are existing customers, and if you are able to identify the customer
Right.
in some shape or form, you can calculate churn.
Right.
Since you are available, since you are able to address the customer's concern or able to interact with the customer, did the churn reduce from the previous month? So this becomes a nice business case which you can develop, because these are all quantifiable data points that you would have.
Right.
And then if you are thinking of building a feature, don't build, generally we would build features based on, oh, our competitor has that, so we'll build, or it's based on my gut feel because I think so, or I may do focus groups.
Right.
So on this focus group, individuals are never your customers.
Right.
Why depend on focus group customers when you have real data from your own customers or would-be customers interacting with you? Take that data, right, harness that data, and then build next best feature, or what feature to be built, or measure your NPS, CSAT scores, and churn percentage.
Great.
That's how I would go about doing
that. That was a great insight. So one other question again from an organization standpoint, right? So what is that misconception you think businesses have, and you wish they understood it better? If you can say about that.
So the biggest misconception I think businesses have is that AI is a magic wand. AI can do everything, which it is not, and which it should not be. It's just like saying I have a car and it can climb a hill. No, there are certain vehicles which are meant to do certain pieces. So it depends on what products you build for what. So AI is not meant to solve everything. AI, I think at the current juncture, they're excellent at solving repetitive tasks. They're excellent at doing customer engagement. They're excellent at delivering customer experiences. They are excellent at personalizations.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at these aspects, fantastic. I think I won't use AI for creative jobs at this scale. Yes, there are a lot of creativity being thrown around. You can augment AI from creativity perspective, but you cannot have completely depend on AI for creativity, in my opinion. So I think just by throwing certain examples that, hey, AI created this, but can they create an industrial scale? Can it drive empathy? Wherever you need empathy and emotional, AI is not the one that can deal with it. It can deal with repetitive tasks, FAQs, updates, those kind of experiences is what AI is good at. But wherever you need human intervention to drive that emotional intelligence and empathy, I think humans should be leveraged.
Got it. One question I want to ask on the framework standpoint from a AI implementation. I think we spoke, but I want to sort of ask this again so that we touch upon every single element in that framework, so that anybody who's watching this show will be guided with the framework. If you can throw some light on implementation framework, maybe even if it is repetitive, I would want to ask this.
So when you say framework, from a tech stack perspective, or
so let's say I'm an organization and we are really good at functional stuff, but AI has to be implemented, and a framework for overall end-to-end, I would say.
Right. So we should embark on an AI journey. The first and foremost is if we have quality data.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do not have quality data, when I say quality data, it's gold data, in the sense that it's undisputable, because garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So the reason I emphasize on data is because we don't want to induce bias to AI.
Yeah.
So we want quality data. If we have collected that quality data, then embark on this journey. Once you have the data, we should have a framework. For example, most of my implementation has been on Azure.
Okay.
Leveraging the Azure tech stack, which also, so once you have data in place, then you need to also build proper pipelines in getting this data ingested continuously, regularly.
Okay.
And then you need to have an orchestration engine. So how will you orchestrate different data for different functions, different features? So you have, let's say you have system of records data, customer data, CRM data.
Right.
So one feature you're building is for customer inquiries. The other one is for helping customer support. The other one is for billing inquiries. So you have the same data, but you're building different features. Everything on voice and chat, let's assume. So how would you build these pipelines, and how would you orchestrate all of these is very, very important.
Get that.
One example I would give is, let's take, you have phone calls coming through. How can you take from calls to building a microsite for organizations? So if you look from a B2B SaaS startups, they do a lot of demo calls to would-be customers. Let's say they do 50 demo calls in a month, and only 10 of them convert. What do you do with the content of the 40 other calls? The calls are done, and those Zoom calls or Google Meet calls, recordings are staying with you. How can you leverage that? That's quality data.
Get that.
So build a pipeline so that that's ingested. So after ingestion, the first thing is transcribing. So you need to have a transcribing engine. Whichever engine, Google has an engine, AWS has an engine, Azure has an engine, transcribe that. After transcribing, how do you convert that into a workflow which will generate a fully functional blog automatically? Right? And then using the same transcription, how can you identify the keywords which you can go and bid on Google? How can you use the same keywords to create ad copies on Facebook and Instagram and on LinkedIn? So you can leverage this real world, real time data from your own customers, the objections customers have said during a call, the things that they enjoyed. So because AI can do sentiment analysis, where did the customer pay attention? Where did the customer not pay attention? What were the questions they are asking? In what sequence did they ask? Which means that means the demo in which way you have done can change. The script should change. Because if they're asking questions in a certain order and your original script was in a certain order, there's a mismatch. And then you can over time you can create a proper script for your demo. So I've just taken one example from a demo video call to a microblogging site, to a Google AdWords, to a Facebook ad copy, and to redefining your own demo script. So if you take this as an example, what are the components that are available? Audio file, which is a data, and then converting that into transcription, which is a transcription engine, and then this transcription engine talking to multiple pieces, which is generating a microblog. That's a service in itself. The same transcription engine generating Google AdWords, that's a separate feature in a service in itself. The same transcription creating Facebook ad copies. So there has to be an orchestration engine which will orchestrate all of these four things. So I would say this is the framework. So you have to have a data pipeline, orchestration engine, and then service workflows. Ideally, if you can containerize this, then you're not dependent on any particular cloud. I would highly recommend, do not build directly on any cloud. Always containerize it so you are in control of your services. So you can take whichever cloud provider is most cost effective and fit for your business.
Sounds good. That was a great insight. So I think one question, being in India, as an Indian, I'm sort of quite curious about how is India pacing with, or rather, where is India right now, and how is it in comparison to the West, be it US, Europe, Australia?
So what I see is that both of them are different scales, right? In the West, it's all about transparency, governance, risk. As the audiences are mature, they demand certain experience. India is all about scale and cost efficiencies. So both of these two are different extremes. So the cost for deploying an AI solution in West is completely different to the cost of deploying an AI solution in India. And the business cases and the use cases in India would be a lot different. Because it has to adhere to cost efficiencies, scalabilities, and personalization. Because Indian consumer is a very demanding customer. So you need to have all of these three pieces. And looking at where India is using, I believe the biggest user of AI in India is our tax. Is our tax department. I think they're leveraging AI pretty deep. So I think government is the biggest user of it at this moment.
Okay.
I think the second ones are the facial recognition and the travel journey. I have recently experienced Digi Yatra. I think that's all nicely connected.
Right.
I think they're a good user of AI and ML combination in some shape or form. And I think Ola also, Ola's founder has said that he's deploying AI. So I have not seen directly use cases of AI deploying. I think it is at a good starting phase, but India is a land of entrepreneurs, very energetic, very vibrant. So I think nobody would want to bet against India on this space. I think they would democratize AI like nobody else have done it.
Right.
And they would also come up with a very cost-effective way of deploying AI compared to the way West is deploying AI at this point in time.
Right.
So I think that the expectations are different, the demands are different from these two different regions. Like I said, so West to deploy governance, risk, security, transparency, data, all of this, and the infrastructure guardrails that are present in the West are not present here. So, so the West is expensive. Once India standardizes its infrastructure and AI guidelines for which the industry or the business and the government should collaborate and come together, I think then the ramp-up phase will be pretty fast. I think India was way ahead in deploying 4G, 5G. Look at the scale, how many millions of users can be onboarded vis-a-vis what happens in the West. UPI is a great example. Started small, but now billions of transactions in 2025.
Absolutely.
Every month. How many countries can say that they can do billions of transactions? So I think we are slow, but once we catch up, once the systems are in place, I think the scaling up in India would be tremendous, will be excellent.
Great. In fact, I can relate to UP experience because I spent about 7 years in that industry across 2 organizations. So one, as in, you spoke about how somebody can build a real listed tech startup on using AI as a tool, right? Can you give us some more examples on those lines, with your experience? Let's say somebody is aspiring to become an entrepreneur and want to use AI as a tool and sort of build companies which can help other businesses or sort of create a niche out of their own using AI as a whole. If you can throw some light on what are the industries, where are the opportunities that lie?
I think the biggest industries in India would be public data. There's so much of information that the government throws or generates, which is available for public, but nobody harnesses it. I touched upon briefly on real estate, for example. Government has their plans to develop infrastructure at different parts of a city. Let's look at Hyderabad. They are saying that they're going to expand metro. They're going to expand east with certain industries. They say that this road is going to be 100. That's their master plans. So how can somebody harness this public data and give it to public?
Right.
The same thing goes to how many rules that exist with a municipality, councils, right? They have so many rules.
Yeah.
The thing is, users are not aware of those rules.
Right.
There's so many legal rules that are available, rules for policing. All of this is a public data available, but nobody is structurally or systematically harnessing them. What AI would enable is that you don't have to think too much as to how to extract this page. So because AI is good at extracting text.
Right.
AI is good at extracting images. AI can understand images. So at least the complexity of extraction and educating the model is out. Somebody has done that hard work.
Right.
Now all you have to point is take the publicly available APIs, connect it to your system. Let's say that I will use this podcast to build this product, right?
Yeah.
So let's say Hyderabad government has APIs available. You take those APIs, connect it into your Azure, build an Azure function, serverless completely. It reads data, store the data in a blob storage, and every time a new data comes, it triggers. And then once you have that information, build a simple Streamlit app on the front end,
right,
where you give them a chat-like interface and say, where are the next roads coming up,
right,
let's
yeah,
say, or where's the next hospital coming up.
Yeah.
So ask general questions that you would want to interact, or say that you're interested in a healthcare policy,
right,
or you're interested in what was the expenditure a government has done in the last quarter, which by definition government has to publish this,
right,
where they have. So this information could be useful for journalists, this could be useful for general citizens. So there's so much of information that's available with the government. Any startup can take a niche, take a ministry as a startup, take a housing ministry and build a startup for that state, for that city, for only on that,
right,
only on that piece. So why I say that? How many real estate developers are building housing in this city? They're not developing elsewhere. So the real estate is worth billions of dollars.
right,
If they're taking one city and making billions of dollars, you are upstream or downstream. So be upstream, take that data, make
right,
it available for citizens,
yeah,
and let them, and you can define business models, how you want to monetize it.
right.
So take ministry, build a startup out of that. You pick a ministry of your choice,
Got it.
which you enjoy, and that becomes your
Agriculture
startup.
can be one.
Sorry?
Agriculture can be one.
Agriculture, I mean, brilliant one. So there are so many policies in agriculture, so many schemes in agriculture based on socio-economic stature, based on gender, based on location, what type of produce do you want to build. So there's so many policies available. Look at
Healthcare.
the funds that are not being utilized in agriculture. Look at the
Right.
funds that have not been utilized in healthcare. If you just go to that ministry and pull all of that data, the startup would know. And then say that, hey guys, I'm democratizing that, build on top of me.
Right.
And
right.
I will help you how to apply for those schemes,
Right.
how to get support from the government.
Right. Right.
I'll structurize, I'll normalize.
Right.
So I think I would structure that would be the easiest one. So this is for solopreneurs or 3 people startups. Can be built using this.
In fact, I was listening to, I don't remember who said this, but with AI, a lot of solopreneurs might come out is what the point was.
Could be. I mean, if somebody is good enough with programming, all
Yeah.
you need is, like I said, heavy lifting is done by AI. All you need to do is write some services, orchestrate it, and connect them. And now
Yeah.
there are orchestrators are also available, like LangGraph, which you can leverage. So things are becoming easier.
Right.
By the day next month, it could be a different orchestrator which has got a very very easy, where a non-technical user can start using it.
Right. Right.
I think that day is not too far off.
Got that. So I think we're coming to the end of the podcast. I have one question for the viewers. Keeping that aside, one thing that was like struck, and I thought I missed asking it during the flow because you were in the flow and I didn't want to interrupt you. You were with Blackberry.
Yep.
And Blackberry was one of those fascinating handsets back then when I was starting my career. I used to see my seniors using it for mails and all. And I was like, yeah, I should buy this someday.
Yep.
And then by the time I realized it sort of faded away. So can you, because since you were inside, can you throw some light on what led for BlackBerry's downfall? What was good inside, and what really caused this BlackBerry fade away?
All right. So now it's been almost 10 years since I've exited it.
Okay.
Thanks for that question. But the memories are still vivid. The reason I say it is it's an iconic company, one of the best companies that I had an opportunity to work with. One thing I have to say, the good is some of the brightest, I got to work with some of the brightest minds in the world. These are the brightest engineers. If you take, the example that I'm going to quote is a sad example but it tells the power of BlackBerry. When 9/11 happened, the telephones stopped working, but BlackBerry was alive because BlackBerry had its own network. BlackBerry had BBM.
Right.
So the example is sad, but it shows the ingenuity and the intelligence with how the product was built.
Right.
Putting that aside, when I come back to the earlier ones, personalizations, understanding customer, being proactive, and being cost effective. I think if I apply these lens to BlackBerry, what I can say is BlackBerry thought this is what my customer wanted. Rather than being proactive, they were reactive.
Okay.
And you ask a question, hey, what are the niches which these entrepreneurs should be building? BlackBerry had an amazing business user base.
Right.
Had they stuck to that business user, rather than suddenly saying, iPhone was launched, let me be everything to everyone. That one single decision led to the downfall, in my opinion.
Got it.
Being inside, we
Right.
were asking, everybody said, why do we want to be everything to everyone? Business phone, 9 to 5. This
Right.
is where they will do.
Right.
Personal phone is iPhone, let it be.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have to merge these two things. How many of us use work profile on iPhone or Android devices? We're not comfortable. We don't want to enable the work profile. We will look at an email and that's where we want it to be.
Yeah.
We don't want more than that. So BlackBerry tried to be reactive, where didn't understand the customer well, in the sense they thought customer wanted this iPhone type experience where it should be a slab phone, fully touch, let's go and launch it.
Yeah.
And then they thought, no, they want a mixture of both. They want touch here and they want BlackBerry experience. That's another mistake
Right.
that they have done. Rather than being incremental, they suddenly disrupted themselves, saying that let me be everything to everyone. And at the end, they became no one to, I mean, what is the word I'm looking for? They became no one to anyone. So nobody wanted them. They
Right.
said that you bought a slab phone. Now this experience is not similar to iPhone.
I'm used to that center button,
Exactly.
which was like move around.
And then if you're now competing with iPhone, is your experience better than iPhone? No. Because the other way I would put this is, Facebook was a social media company. Google is a search company. How many of us remember Google Plus? So Google Plus was a product launched by Google to trying to become social, compete with Facebook.
Right.
Why did it not work? Because Google's DNA is search.
Right.
When you try to fit search into social, it will never work.
Yeah.
Facebook worked because it's a social first, search secondary. When you want to become social company, it has to be social first.
Yeah.
So which means you need to unlearn everything whatever you have done and then learn again.
Got it.
Many organizations miss this simple fact that, oh, I have a new customer segment that I need to deal with. No, BlackBerry was dealing with you and me, who are in our, we have a work to do from during business hours. We are happy with carrying a business phone.
Right.
And we may also be happy with carrying an iPhone also.
Yeah.
Right. So I think BlackBerry missed the tenets of the business, which is understand your customer, being reactant instead of being proactive, and not trying to imitate,
Yeah.
and not being original to itself. So these three things, if I have to summarize, led to the downfall of BlackBerry.
Got it. Got it. It was, and thanks for sharing that insider's insight on how BlackBerry sort of faded away from the market. I think the last question of the podcast is from a viewer standpoint. We have a lot of viewers who are freshers, and there are experienced professionals who are wanting to sort of, enhance their knowledge on AI and sort of take that route. So, if you can give career guidance to both freshers and experienced professionals on how they can move to AI or prompt engineering as a role, or anything around AI, how can they leverage?
So for freshers, the example, the career guidance I would give is they should be good at two things, mathematics and programming.
Okay.
There's no other way around that. And when I say programming, specifically Python, and secondary maybe R. But Python is the preferred language. Unless you're proficient in Python, you won't be good. And AI is not going to be your regular developer job.
Okay.
The reason I say is AI is different because you're solving a business problem. AI is not something that's there at the back end. Whatever you deploy, it's for a front-facing user. It's for a customer user. So unless you are curious and you're willing to listen and spend time with the end user, you should not embark on the journey just building a product. It goes for anything, but more so for AI, because unless you understand what is the current experience is, how are you going to deliver exponential experience with AI?
Right.
So first, try to walk the current experience, try to understand the experience, try to understand the current frictions that are in the experience, try to understand where the aha moments are in the current experience.
Right.
And when you deliver a new experience with AI, you need to understand how often can you deliver this aha moment. Is this going to be once? Is this going to be recurring? Is it going to happen 2 or 3 times during the journey that this AI is going to deliver? So to do this, it's not just programming. It is about understanding the customer and the business problem.
Right.
So AI is all about customer in the middle. So you need to focus on that. For experienced professionals, there are 2 pathways. One is solutioning, in the sense they have developers and they want to create an AI experience. Right. So here they can take the second part of what the freshers would do, understand the customer journey and see what are the aspects of the journey they would want to, and become a solutions expertise.
Yeah.
Go slowly into that path, which means the developer focuses on orchestrating, building services, whereas you focus on prompt engineering, you focus on understand the customer problems per se.
Right.
So for experienced professionals, I would non-technical experienced professionals, I would say prompt engineering would be a good segue to it, and understanding the business problems.
Got it.
And then translating that into a technical requirement document where the developers can work with them. So I think this is where I would say would be a nice split for these 2 types of users.
Great. Thanks for that, Krishna. Thanks for sharing your insights, your experience with our viewers. We wish we do one more podcast whenever you are back from Australia.
Thank you for having me on the show. Real pleasure. And a big thank you to all the viewers who are going to see this podcast. And if you want to reach out to me, happy to answer any queries.
I'll share your LinkedIn profile in the comments, in the description rather. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.